Vote counting is underway in Ivory Coast in the first presidential election since the political crisis and civil war in 2011. Election officials in Tanzania plan to announce preliminary results from Sunday's election for a new president and parliament. And a big day for Ethiopian athletes at the 2015 Frankfurt Marathon in Germany. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Lenore Mudu. This is Africa 54. Tonight we begin our broadcast in West Africa, where Ivory Coast officials are counting the ballots in the first presidential election since the political crisis and civil war in 2011. Turnout in Ivory Coast's presidential election on Sunday was around 60%, according to a senior electoral official. There were tampering fears that poor participation would mar a vote expected to return President Alassane Ouattara to office for a second term. More than 6 million Ivorians were registered to vote at some 20,000 polling stations nationwide. Voting was delayed in many areas by the late arrival of ballots and ballot boxes. For more details on the Ivory Coast presidential election, VOA correspondent Emily Yob joins us on the phone from Abidjan. Good evening, Emily.
Good evening.
Now, senior electoral officials have projected a turnout of 60%, and some other reports say the turnout was very low. What were your observations?
Well, it's an early estimate, 60%. They said it could still change, although I don't think it's going to change much from that number. It is perceived as an average turnout. It's lower than the one in 2010, which was 80%. And I think this number is due in part to the boycott by the opposition. So the boycott resonated with the population, would you say? I would say it was partly followed by the population. And also the other factor was that there was no strong opposition figure to face Alassane Ouattara. So people who were supporting the former president Laurent Gbagbo didn't turn out to vote, for most of them. What is your assessment of the voting process itself at the polling stations? Were things calm and peaceful? What can you tell us? From what I've observed and from what also other observers have reported, there has been a delay in the opening of the polling station. There have been some hesitation in using the new biometric verification system, but really no major incident able to really jeopardize the whole voting process. I would say that the voting was peaceful and there was no major incidents, really. When will the final results be known? The Electoral Commission has 5 days, that's the law, to release the results. But since the beginning, they've said they plan to release them as soon as possible. So this evening, in about 2 hours' time from now, they're going to release the Abidjan results. And then probably tomorrow, they're going to release the other results. Now, tell us about the opposition's reaction a day after the elections. They called for boycott, and some people still went and voted, people that support the president, and perhaps some people from the opposition. What is the reaction today? Do they feel like the process was fair? What are they telling you? They are literally giving press conferences in about an hour time from now to react to the elections. But so far they have called for boycotts, and they still believe that the elections were not free and fair. We haven't heard from them yet. They're going to express themselves a bit later today. But yeah, in some areas of Abidjan and also in other cities, we've noticed a very, very low turnout, so around 25–30% in a region which were in the opposition side. So we can say that the call has been really followed by some voters. Okay, Emily, thank you so much for this great report. VOA correspondent Emily Yob reporting from Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. Now to Tanzania, where election officials say they plan to announce preliminary results Monday from Sunday's elections for a new president and parliament. The long-time ruling CCM party was challenged in the polls by a coalition of opposition parties that nominated former Prime Minister Edward Lowassa as its presidential candidate. Lowassa cast his vote on Sunday, and he encouraged others to do the same.
I'm advising Tanzanians there is peace. They need to come out and cast their vote. This is the only opportunity they have to make history. Come out, there is peace and calmness. Help us make history.
VOA East Africa correspondent Jill Craig visited several polling stations in Dar es Salaam Sunday. She reported that voting was peaceful in the capital and appeared to run smoothly with no incidents or violence or unrest. Election Commission officials expressed confidence Sunday that the electoral process will be judged free and fair despite reported problems at some polling stations in the country. In Tanzania, the National Electoral Commission is releasing results from Sunday's presidential, parliamentary and local polls. Africa 54's Vincent Makori is there and he joins us live via Skype from Dar es Salaam. Hello, Vincent.
Hello, Lino. So as we speak now, the chairman of the National Electoral Commission, Justice retired Damien Lubuva, is having his final briefing of the day. He's been briefing all day. But before I tell you more about the results, here is my interview with Judith Sargentini. She is the Chief Observer, EU Election Observation Mission. She spoke to me on Election Day.
We've seen, and this is cut-off time, 2 o'clock, so an hour ago, we've seen 400 polling stations all over the country. And what we see is calm procedures, peaceful situation, friendly people, queuing a bit, but with patience. Overall, it looks calm and peaceful.
There have been cases where some electoral officials have been accused, perhaps, of helping people to vote, or rather to mark the ballot papers. Do you think some of those issues could become serious if they're widespread?
Well, honestly, with the 400 polling stations we've seen, and we're not looking at 1 or 2 incidents, but overall, I see calm voting where procedures are being followed.
Mm-hmm. And countrywide, regardless of how calm things have been, has there been an incident that you would say is of concern to observers like yourself?
At the moment, no. Our observers have been seeing around 10 polling stations per team today, and they account for a situation that is, patience and calm, peaceful. It looks quite organized, and I'm a bit hesitant to give you an full answer, because what we're doing is not only observing polling day itself. We looked at the campaigning, at the rallies. We're doing a whole quality analysis of the media. So I'll come with a full report on Tuesday, because election is so much more than election day alone.
What is your observation and assessment of the polling station and also the working conditions of the officials who are conducting this process?
Well, like you, like us all, polling is a long day, and tallying, counting and tallying will definitely go on to the night. So I wish all those polling agents strength and good luck. Don't forget to drink something, I would say, because it's going to be a long night, and everybody, of course, needs to be focused and dedicated to the work they're doing. But I'm convinced they are.
Well, I also spoke with a number of voters, and here's what some had today on that day, to say on that day.
You would not believe it when I tell you that right now, as I am talking, I haven't been here for even 20 minutes. I haven't been here for even 20 minutes. So I just came here, went straight in. I didn't even find a queue. Went straight in, voted, and well, here I am.
Were you surprised at how, smooth the process went?
Very much surprised. I was surprised because I never anticipated this, honestly, yeah.
Now, there were a few concerns earlier. People have been speculating that there could be chaos around the polling station. What have you seen so far? What have you heard?
I haven't heard anything apart from stuff that we see in the social networks on WhatsApp. So I haven't personally seen anything that's out of place. So yeah.
How do you gauge, the enthusiasm this time around as compared to the last election?
Actually, a lot of people have come out to vote this time. 5 years ago, it was actually easier. There were fewer people, but then now everybody's actually come out to vote, and that is a beautiful thing because it looks like everybody's woken up. Everybody's actually conscious. Everybody wants to really engage in this matter. So I'm actually quite happy. There are more people this year than there were the years before.
There's a particular party that says it's counting more on the youth vote. Do you get the sense that there were more young people turned out for this particular election?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, since from the campaign trails all the way up to the elections, you know, more youth have been really deep into this whole political spectrum than they have ever before. So yeah, it's more of a youth thing now than it's ever been.
Now, Vincent, you spoke to this last voter was talking about the youth and the importance of the youth. With regards to the big win, who do you think is the determining factor for the opposition and the government?
Well, you see, the determining factor for the opposition is the youth. The youth are so much aligned with the opposition and what the opposition is promising them, whereas the ruling party, CCM, is more kind of a party of the older generation and women. And so they were mostly appealing very, very knowingly to mostly the women of this country, that is for the ruling party. But for the opposition, they are more a young-driven kind of movement, young people-driven movement.
So some results are expected for Monday today. What is the status of the vote counting?
Well, the vote counting went okay as far as the electoral officials are concerned, and the results have been released piecemeal since morning on Monday by Tanzanian time. Up to this point, they have released a number of parliamentary results and presidential results. You know, some people are jubilating in different parts of Tanzania where the results have been determined, where the winners, especially for parliamentary positions, have been announced. But we still cannot have a proper and complete picture of the presidential race as they keep coming in from different regions and they're being tallied, but there is no final count for the presidential candidates.
So what is the general sentiments in terms of free and fair election among the international observers and among the opposition and the population?
You know, the election observers, almost to a person, say that they believe, as far as they observe these elections, that everything was conducted freely and fairly. The process was very smooth. There were a few problems in, you know, isolated places, but they say that does not really make this election in any way an election that could be questionable. The big question now from the citizens is actually the results and whether those who win or those who lose are going to accept the verdict of the voters, or they're going to get into a situation where they claim that they've been perhaps rigged out of this election. So the big challenge is about the results. Otherwise, the conduct of the election itself has been, to a large extent, smooth. Of course, there were problems in some places where ballot boxes were kind of having problems, or ballot papers were delayed, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Well, thank you, Vincent, so much for joining us today. And that was Africa 54's Vincent Makori reporting live via Skype from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Now, in the Republic of Congo, an opposition leader is claiming victory in Sunday's referendum because of what he calls very poor turnout. Guy Kenfusia-Romain, president of the Union for Democracy and Republic Party, says the Congolese people heeded the opposition's call to stay at home because the referendum is an illegal process means to keep President Denis Sassou Nguesso in power. The 71-year-old Nguesso has ruled Congo in different capacities for most of the past 36 years. The current constitution would have prevented him from contesting the 2016 election because of the legal age limit of 70. He is the latest in a string of African leaders who have tried to prolong their stay in office, often in the face of opposition protests. Now, South Sudan's rebels signed an agreement Monday to finalize the implementation of the security arrangements that were part of an August peace accord. The government, a delegation, and a group of former political leaders and detainees signed the agreement in September, but the rebels had refused to ink the deal. General Tabang Dengai says the rebels delayed because they were concerned about the volume of troops in the capital city, Juba. Sporadic fighting continues despite that ceasefire, but all parties hopeful that peace will prevail. Now we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, a Ugandan 3D graphic artist leads the way in Africa's animation industry. Stay with us.
From science and technology, here's what's new.
What's new? A microscope capturing images that are 100,000 times smaller than the width of a human hair. David Dowsett with the Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology says the addition of a super-resolution analysis instrument gives the microscope its additional capability. Dowsett says it's the most powerful instrument of its kind in the world, and the microscope is now getting attention from big business, including cosmetic companies.
We've worked for one of the big pharmaceutical companies developing shampoo, so looking at whether the shampoo really penetrates into the hair.
Dowsett says the precision tool's impact could be huge for many industries, including the development of new semiconductors and lithium-ion batteries. They could also play a vital role in the improvement and development of medicine. For VOA's What's New, I'm Todd Grosso.
Turning to the European migrant crisis, leaders from several European countries are holding an emergency meeting to decide how to deal with the escalating crisis. The situation will soon be dire as the weather worsens. Thousands of migrants remain stranded in the Balkans as they try to reach Western Europe. VOA's Latika Hoke reports.
The flow of Syrians, Afghans and others heading west through the Balkans continued unabated Sunday as European leaders gathered in Brussels to try to work out an agreement on how to control the masses. Many migrants have had to spend nights in the open as temperatures dropped close to freezing.
It's been 10 or 12 days we are traveling from Turkey to here. The hard part in our traveling it was in Serbia, because it was so cold and there isn't any tent.
Serbian Prime Minister Aleksandar Vučić said his country is ready to give asylum to some of the refugees, even though it is not a European Union member.
Our intention is not to construct new walls, new fences, but to find that kind of a comprehensive solution. And we are very ready to discuss all the issues and to overcome all the difficulties.
Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban was unapologetic about erecting the fence to block the migrant flow.
Hungary is not on the route anymore, so we are just observer here. But if we can help at this working meeting with our neighbors with any good experiences, I'm ready to do that.
Most of the migrants are fleeing the violence in Syria.
The aim of this trip,
there's just one aim, to get rid of that ugly war and to get a safe life, just a safe life.
Ugly war, bad war, and we get safe life.
Turkey is the starting point for most Syrian refugees, but Ankara has no representatives at the meeting in Brussels. German Chancellor Angela Merkel visited Turkey last week to urge the government to accept the return of asylum seekers rejected by the EU in exchange for travel and other benefits for Turkish citizens.
Nicht lösen können wir das Flüchtlingsproblem insgesamt.
We cannot solve the refugee problem as a whole. Therefore, we need, amongst other things, further talks with Turkey. Only in cooperation with Turkey can illegal entry become legal, and also in order to achieve a better share of the burden between Europe and Turkey.
EU leaders also are under pressure by their far-right voters who are making it very clear they do not want to host migrants and refugees from the Middle East, South Asia and Africa. Zlarica Ho, VOA News, Washington.
Time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, Ethiopian men and women carry the day during this year's Frankfurt Marathon. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Morocco, thousands march on the streets of Casablanca in support of Palestinians. In Libya, at least 14 bodies thought to be migrants are found on a beach near the port of Homs. In Ivory Coast, the presidential vote was peaceful on Sunday with a reported 60% turnout. In Tanzania, officials are to announce preliminary election results in presidential and parliamentary elections, with the ruling party favored to win. In the Republic of Congo, turnout is low in a constitutional vote that would extend the presidential term. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back. Africa's animation industry is still in its infancy. There are very few animated TV series or 3D movies originating from the continent. However, the growing demand for locally produced content is bringing about change. Solomon Jagwe, a Ugandan animator and 3D graphics artist, is leading the way. VOA's Pauline Dio tells us more.
Solomon Jagwe is one of Uganda's most sought-after animators. He is the producer and creative director of the hit animated TV series Adventures of Nkoza, Nancha and Galiwango, an animated 3D film that has gone viral on social media.
The current project that I'm working on right now is the Adventures of Nkoza and Nancha, and I'm also part-time. I'm working on Galiwango. It has to do with the wildlife conservation and the challenges that the mountain gorillas in the ranges are enduring right now in East Africa. But what's really exciting is Nkoza and Nancha coming to life, and I am so excited that the characters have been created, the environments are almost done, and so now I'm ready to share it with the world.
Jagwe says he wants to create content that young children in Uganda or elsewhere in Africa can relate to.
He's a playful father with our children, and I think that is where the characters get their playfulness. He observes our children, and the interactions that they share together, they somehow turn into these glorious adventures in real life and on paper with Nkoza and Nancha.
Jagwe hopes to take advantage of what experts say is untapped market opportunity in the region.
Some of the things that I do include creating content for video games. I create vehicles and planes and things like that, and it depends on what the client approaches me and asks me to do. But I do illustrations for comic books. I do characters for like game level.
With a keen interest in animation, 3D graphic design and web development, the Ugandan-born Jagwe says the industry is without its difficulties, especially as he's trying to make his mark in a burgeoning industry.
One of the major challenges that I'm having to deal with is how long the animations take to render. At 30 frames per second, 1280 by 720, the size of the screen at which I'm rendering the animation, it can take a long time. So you have to invest in the computers, you have to invest in the memory and the graphics card, and the character animation is also very intense. So you have to be true to the voice acting, you have to spend time cleaning up the animation. And because I'm pretty much a one-man team, I have to do a lot of the character animation, the environment design, the lighting and the rendering. All those things build up after time. So often you find me up until like 3 a.m. In the morning,
Solomon Jagwe began the production of Adventures of Nkoza and Nanchan nearly 2 years ago, taking on an intricate process that involved drawing images on paper, scanning them and turning them into digital renditions.
The skeleton enables me to move the character, animate the character in 3D space. The knees automatically bend down and up.
Besides creating animated TV series, he is also an avid painter and looks to donate his paintings for social causes. The animation industry is booming and television broadcasting houses are looking for originally produced local content. Industry analysts say that for budding animators on the continent, the sky is the limit because broadcasting houses are always yearning for local content. Paul Ndiho, VOA News.
It's time for our sports report, and here is Sunny Young with the sunny side of sports. Sunny, Frankfurt was the place to be over the weekend, huh?
Place to be for Ethiopians, Lenore. Sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. It was a victorious day for Ethiopia at the Frankfurt Marathon in Germany. Ethiopian athletes Sise Lema and Galuma Talesa won the men's and women's titles in Frankfurt. In the men's race, Sise pulled away from Kenyan rivals Lonnie Ruto and Alfred Lagat in the final kilometer to win in 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 26 seconds, a personal best. In the women's race, Galume won in 2 hours, 23 minutes, and 12 seconds as Ethiopia swept the podium places. This is a busy time of year on the marathon calendar. On Friday's Africa 54, I mentioned how Ethiopians are extra motivated to win at the New York City Marathon on November 1st. South African rugby fans are proud and philosophical about their beloved national team, the Springboks, after a tough semifinal loss at the Rugby World Cup. Fans in Johannesburg watched the Springboks lose a tight match to defending champion New Zealand 20-18. The All Blacks of New Zealand will now play the Wallabies of Australia in the Rugby World Cup final October 31st in London. Here's how a few South African fans reacted to the 2-point loss to New Zealand.
Very tight game, but a good game all in all. We expected that New Zealand would go through, but we were hoping. It
was a good game. We gave a good effort. 3 points short, but yeah, disappointed, but happy with it, guys.
I think the game was awesome. I'm very proud of the Boks. We made it this far, and New Zealand is a very tough team to play against, but we played very well. I'm very proud of the Boks. We did not make it, but you made it in our eyes.
The Springboks of South Africa will next play Argentina Friday in the third-place match at the Olympic Stadium in London. I'm Sonny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Lenore?
We wish them a better luck with Argentina. Thanks, Sonny. Be sure to watch the sunny side of sports every Monday and Friday on Africa 54. That's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 300 and 600 UTC. Thank you for watching.
Welcome to English in a Minute. This is a very common idiom, one you hear often in American English.
Put something on hold.
Let's listen.
Hey, how is your new job search going? Have you decided where you want to move?
No, I have decided to put my search on hold. I decided I had better finish getting my master's degree at the university before I start looking for a new job.
If you put something on hold, it means you are not going to do it right away. You're going to wait before you act. You might also hear someone say this to you on the phone. Let me put you on hold.
Hello, please hold.
This means, wait, I will get back to you soon. Also, you can put something on hold at a store, and they will keep it for you until you come back to buy it. And that's English in a Minute.